Hey YouTube, thanks for clicking on this video. Today is June 19, 2020, and today we're going to review the reddit.com r/Factorio subreddit, the weekly question thread where new players ask questions to the Factorio community. We're going to answer them live. So if you like this sort of thing, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, ring that bell so you get notified when I post a new video. If you want to be part of this live, you can go to twitch.tv/clowntown. You can be part of this live during U.S. hours in the evening on Friday nights, and we can answer your new player questions. So if you just want to leave me a comment down below in the comment section, go ahead and do so. All the links and everything I talk about will be in the description of this video below. With that, let's get to the Reddit weekly question thread. All right, weekly question thread for r/Factorio subreddit. Question number 1. I don't understand how to build solar arrays with robots. I put the blueprint down, and I can either store up the material in a provider chest or have the materials in my inventory so personal robots can build them. What I can't seem to figure out is how to get the materials to the blueprints as the array expands. And since logistic chests aren't accessible from large distances, I really don't care how it gets automated. My current solution is to getting the materials to drive off the array and have my bots build it. It is a pain in the rear. So, number one way to do that is put a RoboPort in the middle of your solar array, and then you build your solar array in a square that is equivalent to the RoboPort range, or just inside of it, so that when you put down a second one, you have, number one, some space to walk between the arrays, and two, that as you put the next one down, it reaches to the maximum size, such that the two RoboPorts are now connected in the Logistic network. So one way to see that is right here. Let me show you an example of that. All right, so this is an example of a solar array that fits in with a RoboPort in the middle, the right number of solar of panels to accumulators. Dang it. There we go. So if you look at this, what you want is a 0.84 ratio of accumulators to panels. You want a few more panels than accumulators. I usually err on the side of my of a little bit more accumulators, because things like lasers and other things can draw down power a little bit more rapidly than you think, and if that happens at night, you want a little bit of cushion. So it would not hurt to go a little bit more heavy on the accumulators, right? In this one, there's a nice balance, but this is vanilla, so these substations are placed at the right angle to make sure you have a complete coverage with all the substations and all the power that can consume them in. This has the right ratio involved, and if you what you're looking for is something like this, to where the solar panel is sized such that the RoboPorts are exactly as far apart as they need. There's some space to walk between, and that when I place this down, robots from this network, which presumably will be attached to your base over here, can now, one of the first things they'll place, because they're inside the green, it'll throw down into the next one, place that RoboPort, which expands the network, and then places everything else around it, right? So this is usually how it's done, is you place that, and then see if I can landfill some of this. And then one thing, if you can get a blueprint that has two of these side by side, then you can match up one and place the next one. And this is creative mode that I'm using right here. So what you'll notice is the bots don't place them, because I've got some pretty cracked out things. This is my demo module. But what will happen is the network will gradually expand if you put a RoboPort in the middle of it. And that's the secret to having these expand. Now, if you want to level up, what you might end up doing is you may end up having a situation like this, a situation like this to where here's network number 1 and here's network number 2, and you split your solar array, which there are reasons to do that. What you might end up doing is something like this, to where you place, you have a little border here, and you go, okay, well, there is where all my equipment is going to be sucked into on the other one, and then here's where I'm going to put it. I'm going to translate these over here. So I'll say, you know, I'll put the substations over here in that one. Say, give me 100 of those, and then I'll put the panels, solar panels, in the other one. And then, being on this border, will transfer from one network to the other, right? So you can see the orange line is separated by one line and one square of non-connection. And the way you do that is, look, if I place it anywhere in here, it's going to be connected to that roboport as signified by the dotted yellow line. But if I get a little bit too far, that's a different network. So you can connect one, but you can disconnect your solar network and just have the robots delivered to here. And then once they're in this other network, this network can expand way out here. And there's reasons to do that for UPS and robot control, material control, and all of that business. That's another way to do it. The other one way is, and also you can do something like this to where, you know, you could do that and connect them vertically as well. They connect 4x4. But a lot of these blueprints you can find out there, also on Reddit. You can find them on, I think, Factorio prints. This is very common for other players to have. And the meta configuration on this has kind of been worked out over time. So this is a pretty mature model on how to do them. You'll see different variations in here, but the magic happens when you have a roboport that has, or a solar panel that has a roboport in the middle, and the roboport defines the boundaries of the solar panel array. So that's how you would do it. And if you want to, you can click in the description below and get this blueprint. It'll be in a paste bin text storage. I guess a paste bin article or an item. You can copy that and import this into your blueprints down here in the blueprint utility in your blueprint book. You can hit this in here, and you can where's the import? There it is, import string right here, and put the text in right there, and you can import your blueprint. All right, thank you very much for that question. Appreciate it. All right, ThinkingWithPortals1 asks, is version 18 stable enough to upgrade to? I've been playing with a stable version, stable release since I bought the game a few weeks ago, and have been using .17, but it sounds like 18 has some nice additions. Yes, there is a second question that is the same, along these same lines. Let's flip over to it. AWanderingMage says, I'm fairly new to the community, but an avid modder from other games, and I'm greatly enjoying the mods for Factorio in general. The question I have, though, is once the game updates, do mods typically break until fully updated by the owner of the mod? Or is there some continuity where unless the update changed something the mod uses, it should be good to use? And lastly, how active is the modding community in terms of updating to the latest release? Just looking for a ballpark here. Like a couple weeks, or is it months? Not asking for a specific mod, but want a general feel of how up-to-date the community keeps. Great questions. All the same line of continuity between versions. So to think with Portals, absolutely. It is definitely worth upgrading to version 18. The number one reason I say this is because this game is not like other games. You will not find anything like this on planet Earth. The game is so stable and so polished at this point that it is now easily one of the most, and it has been at least for the last 4 years that I've, three and a half years that I bought it, is one of the most playable and most stable early access games that I've ever seen, ever. I'm typically really shy away from anything early access and anything experimental or anything beta. These guys do it right. So go for it. Go update to the latest version 18 and keep it up to date. Be reasonable about it. give it a day or two after the next dot release pops up. Then go ahead and update. And what I mean is version 18, dot 18, dot 21, 22, 23. There's another version. There's a second dot after this one. This one updates very frequently, maybe once every week, once every 2 weeks. Just give it a day, and then go ahead and upgrade. You'll just be getting new features and all of those things. And the best way to capture that is 99% of players. The most recent experimental version is stable enough. And here's the thing: is another one. Factorio's latest experimental is more stable than most AAA games are the year after release. That is 100% true. Now to the other question, in terms of not just being a player but being a modder, a wandering mage, you should definitely get into doing mods. This is a great mod community. Again, unlike anything else you'll ever encounter, and really, unless with the major versions, you'll likely have to do some minor updates, which the major versions only really happen every somewhere between 4 to 6 months or so, right? That's about the version 6.16 to .17 to .18, every 6 to 9 months or so, I would say. In terms of the mod community, it is very rare, even in the experimental, that you will have to update something. Most of the time, the .17 to .18 every 6 months or so, you will need to roll the rev of the mods and how they work, because there will be something major changed. By now, with version 1.0 being released so soon, I would absolutely say that you're probably good until 1.0. Right now, we're on version 18.32, and a few graphical things are getting polished up, but otherwise, the mods have not really been broken too bad in version 18, and we've been doing releases about once a week. Then to the other question, how active is the modding community in terms of updating to the latest release? Looking for a ballpark, like a couple weeks, or is it most months? I would say most mods the same week will get rolled. I would say within the first week, many of them the next day will get rolled. This is a very active and very involved and just a world-class mod community. Like what two things have converged to make this happen is, one, the game is very moddable, in that the devs have sunk so many developer hours into giving modders tools that they need and making it modular and making it very, very separate from the other game, where you can insert different objects as you need, etc. The most popular mods will often, I'll say the most popular ones, will get updated very quickly, within a week. I would say if it goes 1 week or more, that's very, very rare from when they break. Exceedingly rare. It's a very different game in that regard. So, in summary, if you're a player, get to experimental and you'll enjoy it. It's not a bad process. You're not going to be crashing all the time. It's super, super stable. And my advice to you is upon release of the .minor version, give it a day and watch the forums, and you'll be fine. That's my philosophy, and I play Factorio 6 nights a week, and play and broadcast Factorio 6 nights a week, and run a server. Give it a day, you'll be fine. And then number 2, for a modding community, get involved. We're looking for it's a really moddable game, and we're looking for great modders to have some really great ideas. So, Wandering Mage, welcome on in. Great questions. Fluttershaft asks, how do I skip tutorial levels? I played the first 5 levels in 0.18 demo and then bought the game, trying to copy the section of player data.json to my save file, but it keeps reverting after I launch the game and the levels aren't cleared. There seems to be more mini tutorials in the full game than the demo. Any way to play them separately without redoing the tutorial? Yeah. The way to skip the tutorial levels is to click on New Game, Single Player, Free Play, Start. Do not play the demo anymore. You've bought it. Get into it. The demo is much maligned. Skip it. Jump in. Go watch some videos. Join us. You won't notice the difference. Just get into it. You'll be fine. Cyberpunk 2077 says EvictedSaint was recently delayed until November. Bummer. Factorio 1.0 was released, was pushed up to avoid conflicting with it only a couple weeks ago. Cyberpunk's delay affected Factorio's 1.0 release schedule. Similar question here. By Mythos09, CD Projekt Red has announced that they decided to move the launch of Cyberpunk 2077 from September 17th, which was Factorio's original date, to November 19th. Since the colliding launch date was the reason why Woob preponed, I guess, yeah, preponed their own release of Factorio by month. Does Cyberpunk delay mean that Factorio might also get postponed? No. They've answered this today on Twitter. There was just a straight-up reply on Reddit and on Twitter. The answer is no. No change from Woob Software. They're just going to keep on keeping on. They've made a choice. The game is finished. That's a good weekend to launch. Get her done. We're all gearing towards it. There's no reason to move it again. Let's get it done. They said in two or three FFFs ago, look, the game is nearly finished. It's just about good to go. So there you go. August 16th weekend, and I will be off, and I'm gonna take that whole week off, and we're gonna play the crap out of Factorio, and we're all gonna have a great time. So make sure you're there. Good question. NorthSouthFarter says, do maps update themselves when a new biter base spawns? A random biter base spawned beside mine, but I was able to see it on the map until I walked there. Right. Even though that part of the map was explored. Radars update your map, and your exploration updates the map. There is something like the fog. It gives you the effect of fog of war. You can walk there and explore the terrain, and you'll see it actively while you're there. As you walk out of that area, the fog of war will go over. It will be grayed out. You'll be able to see the terrain and things that were there, but it will not update. So even if you found a base and then left it, the base will appear there. If for someone else comes along and kills that base, well, it's not, maybe on a different team, say that base is removed, you won't see that the base is removed until you walk there and re-explore it. So spread out your radars, because radars are the best tool to make sure that you can see everything around that you need to see. So spread them out. The best way to spread out your radars is use the mini map, which can show you the effective area of a map while you have it in your hand. As you're walking, you pick up your radar and have it in your hand, and then before you put it down, you'll be able to see the effective range in your mini map. But spread those radars out and keep an eye on the terrain. Good question. Neinderthal says, train/oil. Noob questions. Point me some resources and wisdom. Train/oil. How to use trains. How to train. Train hard. To gather resources from far-off places, question mark? Yes. I have a base with red green science. Oil's a bit further away. I'm wondering if I should use trains to get oil here and process, set up a new base. Trains. Oil's one of the ways that you can get oil back. A lot of times your oil has a pretty big footprint. Not only do you have the crude pump jacks that you set up on the oil patches themselves, but then you have probably somewhere between 12 to 20 refineries going, 8 to 12 to 20 refineries, depending on how much you have. And then lots of other chemical plants to do the cracking and sorting and all of that, and produce all of the things like all the derivatives, some tank storage, and then some assemblers to process the plastic, and a couple tanks to store the sulfuric, and chemical plants, etc. Oil itself has a pretty big footprint. So what I usually see people do is go get oil, build, and kind of build their way back into their main base. And that's a way that they expand their main base, is just go grab oil far out and then build back in. But if it's too far away, it might be time to redo the map, because if it's too far away, then you have to decide what do you want to train in. You could train crude back in and build that way, and just expand your main base, and all you're doing is training crude in. That's a good way to do it. If you decide to do manufacturing on point of use, then you're going to be training in several things, like training lube in, or solid fuel, or rocket fuel, or things like that. There's lots of derivatives that eventually come out of oil. So deciding how to use your trains best is pretty key early on. And early on, I would recommend fewer trains and focus on getting through your science first. Kind of a broader question. But yeah, trains are specifically for mass transport of material that is far away, whether it's oil or any other context. The next step for trains after your main base is to begin doing smelting way out there, and then next to your mining. So you have your miners are mining the ore, and you smelt out there using electric furnaces, so you don't have to do any coal or fuel. And then train in iron plate, train in copper plate, train in steel, and dump your steel off to your base for processing. Enemies. If I convert my base completely into solar right now, he's completely solar. I've yet to start up accumulators. I'm assuming pollution will come down, but I read that biters will still evolve at the same rate. No, the attack list. Not quite right. Currently, I have red-green science. Gray is pending. Do I have to place turrets all around my base with the ammo supply belt? Up to you. Okay, so biters. Without getting too much detail, biters evolve on three things: pollution, time. Just if you just do nothing, they're gonna evolve, and then nest kills. If you kill their nests, they're gonna evolve quickly. So, assuming you stop pollution, you stop and you stop killing their nests, they're still gonna evolve. They're still gonna expand. So you still have to deal with them. They won't necessarily attack less. They're going to evolve slowly. They expand and attack at the same rates. Unless there are some times where what triggers an attack is pollution. Many times, it hits a base, the base absorbs pollution, and they start gathering for attack. Otherwise, the evolution kind of goes on. Evolution just kind of goes on in parallel with that. So I guess the next question is kind of goes together with that. Do I completely surround my base with walls, or is turrets usually enough? Walls help. They absolutely do help. Think of walls as channeling where you do and do not want the biters to go. So maybe think about shaping the wall into like an S curve, while the guns are kind of watching over the S curve, and they can start shooting as the biters curve around into the base. Make it a torturous path, and use the walls to path them around. They're very, very, very useful. And turrets are usually enough early on. As soon as you get to around medium biters and spitters, walls, you're going to need some walls to slow them down. Converting to solar is a good thing. You're going to need accumulators and batteries to get all solar. Solar does require a lot of real estate to get going very well, because you need a lot of power, especially when you dip into oil, which is coming next for you. The only thing I would say with solar is it's kind of a double-edged sword, because yes, you're reducing pollution. Yes, it's a very clean source of permanent energy. There's a balance between solar and accumulators that you have to reach 0.84. There's more information on the wiki, but it takes a lot of real estate. It takes a lot of land. And what's on the land that you need to remove before you can put solar there? Biters. So you have to go out and kill biters and put a wall up so they won't expand in. So you're going to have to do some biter clearing in order just to get your solar, enough solar to get to what you need to, unless you've cranked the expansion way down and cranked the biters way down, which is totally good. Is there a tutorial about defense progression? Right now I have regular turrets, and we'll probably set up laser turrets in a bit. Good. Wondering what's ahead. Laser turrets are end game. That's really good. Laser turrets plus solar and accumulators are probably your best bet because it's perpetual energy using free energy from the sun to kill biters. That's a really good way to do it. Nuclear is a better source of a lot of power on a smaller footprint. Oil turret, the flame turrets powered by oil, either solid fuel or crude oil. Light oil or crude oil. Those do tons of damage. It will be very, very good to have your defenses up with the flame turrets. End game, you'll get to artillery, and artillery is a way of keeping nests cleared from way out. Artillery has a huge range, but then as you kill their nests, they will come attack you because they have no home to go to, and they're just going to come attack you. So you need some walls to have them impale themselves on. So that's a way to do it. So you can't just use artillery. You have to have turrets because the biters are going to come after you once you artillery and bomb their nests. There's plenty of YouTube videos out there to go look at. Our sub-server does it, all of that sort of thing. We've got some artillery set up. We've got a pretty good thing on our sub-server, and we may can unpack that at a future date. But yeah, I would recommend going and watch a streamer that's brawling with biters, and you'll see their strategy unfold. But thank you very much for that question. Good one, Neinderthal. Good question. How do y'all do solar/accumulators? I see a lot of perfect ratio blueprints in Factorio school. Do you just slap them down all over, or what? We actually, this is a great question. Just did the same question. The ratio on the wiki is there's a specific equation that you put in your solar panels and your accumulators. Minimum ratio is, I think it's accumulators to solar. Accumulators on top of the numerator, solar in the denominator. You want that number to be 0.84 in vanilla. The number's out the window when you go to when you go all the way to you get into mods, but you still put it in that same equation. But you can either do 1-to-1, which is pretty safe, and I would recommend that one accumulator to one solar. Those extra accumulators that get you up to a 1.0 instead of 0.84 to 1. That does give you a little bit more room in your swings up and down with lasers and big power swings. I am a conservative power runner. I build way more power than I need and also build more energy storage than I need. I put tanks of steam on boilers. So I have a little bit of steam energy that I can store, as well as extra accumulators, because you may never know, you need some extra time. Tanks are cheap, and batteries and accumulators usually pretty cheap. So there's just batteries and iron plate, right? Throw a bunch of those down and store some accumulators in case some biters attack and you're at night and you don't have this power to do it. You'll dip down and be able to dip back up a little easier. I prefer a little more accumulators than solar. So, but yeah, feel free to do it however you want. But you can check in the description below is a good blueprint pattern for a good ratio for solar. It's a 150 to 180 single blueprint with a roboport in the middle and plenty of substations to fill in the gaps. Artillery question says, hazard profile part 7. How do several artillery turrets compare to few artillery wagons? 3 or 4, don't know. Running the perimeter of my walls, stopping at strategic points to shoot. I prefer the latter. Artillery, I think wagons are cheaper than the artillery placed ones. The problem is if you have them stationary, you have to get the ammo to them to multiple points. And artillery ammo is a pain in the butt. It stacks to a whole total of 1, and it's a pain in the butt to carry around. So, also wagons hold 100 each. You can they hold 100. They can if you're inside a wagon, it stacks to 100. If you're inside a placed turret, it stacks to 10, and they're a pain to store. So that right there, I would totally recommend of getting the hard, doing the hard work of laying the track down, putting the strategic spots around, have it circle, and that way you don't have to move stuff around, because moving artillery shells is the biggest pain in the butt in the whole damn game. Yeah, it may stack to 15. I don't remember, but they're very, very different. You can shove 100 of those shells in a wagon. It is so good to do that. I almost never use those placed ones. I use the wagon and have a train that's running, and I do a little supply train that transports artillery wagons and rocket fuel to the train all at once, and just does laps. That's all it does. Just continuously runs around the perimeter, stops and waits like 30 seconds or 60 seconds at each stop to make sure it's done, and then of inactivity, and then moves on to the next one, and it just keeps going roundy the whole time, whole rest of the game. And then of course I have lasers to defend the walls, because as soon as those artillery shells land, all the biters are going to come after me. So, but good question, hazard profile. Sink the work into a train. Semaphor says, how do logistic bots determine which requester chests to put things in if there are multiple chests requesting the same thing? I would assume chest A is empty, requesting 100, and chest B is empty, requesting 10. Chest A would have a higher priority, but this is not the case. You're right. It's not the case. Is there a way to force priority? Yes. Force priority. There is another chest called the buffer chest that has a lower priority than a blue requester chest. So if you want one to have a lower priority, you can easily use a buffer chest. Buffer chests are very unique. They function both as a requester chest and as a supply chest. You can turn them on and off by requesting from a buffer chest. It's an option on the blue requester chest. You can say take from buffer chest or not. And no, a lot of it has to deal with proximity and all of that. I think they take from the items from the highest priority first. So blue will always go first, or actually purple. They'll take from purple first, and then they'll take from blue. Don't use purple chests. They're very specific applications. Nuclear fuel, some other things. Don't do purple are very rare, a very unique chests. They're very important, but they're very unique. Stick to blue and stick to greens as your mainstays for moving stuff around. But then I asked the same question a while back about how do bots work out which one, if two requester chests are requesting the same thing and they're just about the same difference apart, how do I know which one gets one first? The similar question I asked was if I'm placing construction items with the bots in my backpack or bots in my inventory, my construction bots, like concrete. I'm way out there at concrete. I'm not in a network. I got concrete in my inventory. How does it know where to place with the construction bots? The answer I got for both of those questions, you don't want to know. buffaySmellyCat, what are they feeding you? Hi, I was played the demo on an older version. I think it was 17 or 17 something. And now I'm starting a free play game on the newest version. My crafting menu has changed. Yes, it has. But before everything was laid out and nothing was categorized, I prefer this layout as it makes it quicker to select. How do I go back to this menu? There are items in the config.ini that you can edit, or here is a secret, okay? As I hit escape and I hit settings, I just click on settings, left click. I have 6 items in this menu. Okay? If I hold down Control and Alt and click settings, dun, 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 I get a new one. It's called The Rest. And I click on this, and then I get warning. Don't change things if you don't know what you're doing. Easter egg. Most settings require restarting the game to take effect. Okay. My advice to you here is obey those 2 tool tips. Stay out of here if you don't know what you're doing. You'll blow yourself up. But to the question below, right here, here's what you want to do. Use item groups and use item subgroups. Now, look at that. So that is this. This is Creative Mod. Adds all these tools. But look, these are the groups, and this is the groups up here. And then these are the subgroups, like this row and that row and that row and that row, etc. So I'm going to do that again. Control Alt or Escape, Control Alt, click on Settings, get the rest. And I'll uncheck subgroups, show you that. And there's my inventory. Now they're just straight up listed, and they're still in their groups, but their subgroups are now just one after the other, no spaces, etc. Uncheck them both. Now it's one giant pile of inventory. Right? I use this for speed runs. I use the subgroups for my normal play. So for speed runs, I want it all in one page, so I don't have to flip through those, so I can get to it faster, and I just remember it. If I'm playing any mod, man, I'm using subgroups because mods expand the subset of items so much in general, and you want to kind of keep track of those. But that's a real Easter egg right there. Control and Alt and Settings, the rest. And that's your jam to that specific Reddit question is unpack those, right? There you go. That's how to do that. The rest of this stuff, do not... you don't want to know. MetroGnomeeee. How can I wipe out massive clusters of biter nests without using oil? There's 2 big clusters right next to where the oil is on my map. Lol. Without using oil. Turret creep, lasers, artillery. Does you have to use oil? Yeah, you have to use explosives for artillery. And without using oil, yeah, turret creep with piercing ammo and steel. You're going to burn through a lot of steel to do that. But I guess lasers, you need battery, you need sulfuric, so you won't be able to do that. I would say, I mean, you're also without oil, you can't really use a tank because of the explosiveness of the shells. You need sulfur and explosives. Poison capsules. Don't you need red boards for poison capsules? I think. You can try some combat bots. You can keep fish in your inventory. Max out your bullet tech, your pain, and your speed. And armor piercing bullets, turret creep. Pre-oil, that's your best bet, man. And just max out all that science so that your every shot counts as much as it possibly can. That's how to do it. GashaDokuro senpai. That is the most Yankee saying of something that is clearly Japanese. I just butchered that. Hello, I'd like to officially apologize to the sovereign nation of Japan for my pronunciation of that word. I heard the electric mine drill got a new model, but I still have the old model. I've updated everything. What could be the problem? You need to be in version 18 experimental. Make sure you go into Steam, hover on the game, do properties, betas, and make sure you're in the latest version. I would recommend against setting it to 18.x. I would recommend against 18.x. I would recommend doing 18. Just set it to the latest one and do it, and give it set it to the latest one, and then that way you're in control of what version, and it doesn't automatically update. Give it a day after a version change, a minor version change before you roll. It is still early access. On rare cases, bases get broke, and there's much gnashing of teeth and suffering based on sometimes it does happen, crashes and all of that business. They fix them very quickly, so just give them a day or two. Trust. Is there a way to force a blueprint to overwrite what is on the ground? I know the opposite, where I can shift-click on the ground, what is on the ground. It won't stop me from putting down a blueprint, but I need the opposite. For context, I have a big city block megabase, and I found out my intersection signaled slightly wrong. I need to change a few signals and add a new change signal. How can I easily paste over the intersections? I would end up using, there's a control click which does a deconstruct over what's there. I don't know if you want to do that. What I might end up doing is two-step. One, get a filter a deconstruction planner. For your context, all you're looking to do is undo the signals and redo the signals. Grab a deconstruct planner, go filter it, put in the signals that you want to take out, drag it over, pull up the signals, and then just repaste over your new blueprint. Yeah, that's probably the most cleanest way, Pastrami. Good luck. Ben_go. I was looking through the crafter recipes earlier today and realized the barrels are pretty much the only thing I've never used. Even though I'm working on a mega base. Looking more into it, it seems the trains with cargo wagons and barrels can carry less fluid than trains with fluid wagons. Correct. They also seem quite inconvenient to use since you have to barrel and unbarrel them and provide a return path for empty barrels. Also correct. The process seemed interesting and I kind of wanted to implement it, but I don't really know where. Great question. In which situations do barrels have an advantage over just using pipes or fluid wagons to transport them? Number one case is the little bit of heavy oil that you need to kickstart coal liquefaction. So barrels are pretty great when, number one, you have a part of a coal liquefaction. My base is here, and 655,000 miles away is the coal that I need to liquefaction. But I have heavy over here, and I need to get some heavy over there to get it kickstarted. Once I get it kickstarted, I can generate my own heavy. But I need some heavy to go take over there. Throw down a barrel, throw down an assembler, barrel, a couple stacks of barrels of heavy. Put those in your pocket, and then you can take them out there manually. It's a manual kickstarter is what the barrels are mostly used for. Number two. The only other thing that I would use barrels for is the cliff explosives. I think cliff explosives have a barrel as a component. You should, you can, but those, I think you can even direct insert those. You don't really have to ever maintain an inventory of barrels. They are not really they're not something that you want to have a mainstay in your, in your base or as part of your main science path long term in your mega base. They don't have a ton of application, but think of it as if I need to transport a tiny bit of fuel to kickstart something, they're great because then you can just throw them in your inventory and head on out there. But I guess cliff explosives are the number one use case for most players. Barrels. Okay. RRUser says, I finished the vanilla game for the first time last night. All right, playing co-op with a friend. We'd like to start over with a couple mods, but there's a ton. I don't want to break the game or make it needlessly complicated. Our first game we only played with the bottleneck indicator mod, so we're down for any other quality of life mods, but they're not that interesting. Okay. I'm totally down for any new transportation methods. I love trains and new logistic systems, but I'm afraid they end up installing 3 mods that offer the same product by 3 different means. If you have any suggestions on where to start, good. 2 sets of mods, 2 types of mods. 1, quality of life. 2, overhauls, etc. So one that I would start out with is quality of life. Squeak through is good because it lets you walk in between solar panels. I know, right? There's one called, I think, Brightest Lamp. Someone in chat will remind me. It's one that makes the lamps a little bit brighter. It's a pretty good one. There's a couple of other good indicators, like a to-do list and a bunch of other ones we looked at last week. Overhaul mods, couple I can recommend to you. Factorio Extended is really good. Add to Factorio Extended. If it's the first time you're into overhaul mods, do Factorio Extended. The link will be down in the chat. It's Jimmy John 711's Factorio Extended. Add in also Afraid of the Dark. That's another one. Gives more lamp lighting. Thank you, Steely. I would also recommend adding in Factorio Extended plus compound miners, Pyanodon's warehouses only, and mini loaders. So it's Sir JMO's compound miners, mini loaders, and Pyanodon's warehouses. That was a pretty fun combination that we did. The Pyanodon's warehouses run pretty well, work pretty well. They're nice and square. They're a little fruity a little funky to look at first, but they make some sense. If you ever do any warehouses, you definitely need loaders because inserters can't keep up with the volume. So if you want to take your megabase to a gigabase and take it to the next level, see how far you can go, man. Factorio Extended is great. It's not really an overhaul, correct, Conan? It's not super overhaul. It's an add-on. It gives you extra tiers to keep going. That one I think you'll really enjoy. And compound miners, the visual indicator, the visuals of a compound miner, having one miner take up the whole screen is pretty nuts. And I think that'll be something that you and your buddies will enjoy. So again, Factorio Extended, there's eight pieces of Factorio Extended. Do that plus Pyanodon's warehouses plus mini loaders and compound miners. All of those 3 will give you a great experience. Overhaul mods, I did one on this before. It'd be Crastorio, Angels and Bobs. That's a little more complex. Pyanodon's the full thing. All of that sort of stuff. Yeah. But otherwise, you're going to have a great time. Good luck. How high would you say the initial barrier to entry is? I haven't really played builder games, so I think I'll be trash, and I'm worried about how complex the game seems to be. Not at all. Come on in. Get her done. Don't be afraid. InterspaceAlien, don't be afraid. We're here for you. Look up stuff on YouTube. Get her done. Skip the demo. Jump right in. You'll be fine. You're a smart guy. Stay motivated, because if you're motivated, you can do anything. Stay awesome, because you know you're awesome, and we'll see you in the game. Is it better to play... Okay, Chris Ghosts 275 says, is it better to play the introductory campaign? Nope. Riotacting says, is it possible to repair your car while inside of it without bots? No. It seems silly that you can place assets and pick up items, but you can't use repair pack. I agree. You either have to have a RoboPort and repair packs and bots in your inventory, and as soon as you stop, your bots will repair your car, Or if you don't have those and all you have is repair packs, you got to stop, get out of the car, and put your wrench on it, and then get back in and drive. You can't do it you can't just reach up on the hood and start wrenching on your car. All right. Thank you very much for being here for the weekly question thread on Reddit. If you have any questions about any of this, you can hit me up on Friday nights. We do this, or just about any time I'm live. Twitch.tv/Clowntown. Also, you can leave me a comment in the comment section below. All the links of everything I talked about in the description. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, ring that bell, get you a notification to let you know as soon as I've dropped a video. Appreciate your viewership so much, and we'll see you next time.